because neither Fatima or Matthew or Abia could attend this. So we'll go through this once again, okay? About this, because this is an important part. Rest, I think if I had to rush over some theoretical part, that's fine, but I should not rush over conceptual part. That's a policy. Okay. Is it okay if I repeat, or you people will get the video and should I move on? It's your call. Tell me. I'm
Sir,
okay
please.
we should go over logistic growth, right?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, great. So let's, oh, sorry. Okay, so let me give a quick summary today, and so that also to put things in context. Okay, so we started with organisms and population. So we don't have to focus more on the organism part, but we still discuss some factors that affect organisms. So organism is an individual entity. As I told you, it is capable of independent existence in the ecosystem as a subpart of a population. But its existence is, we call it independent because it does all the things on its own, but still it is dependent on other components of the ecosystem for food, energy, resources, etc. And population is a group of organisms that live in the same geographical region, which we call as habitat. And the most important feature of something, calling something as a population, is that they compete or they share for similar resources. Okay. And potentially can also interbreed. So this last part is flexible because it only holds true, the interbreeding part, for sexually reproducing organism. But if an organism is reproducing asexually, we will still call it a population, like a population of bacteria or a bacterial colony, we call it on a culture plate. Now, we talked about some factors that affect organisms. They can be biotic and abiotic. Abiotic are temperature, water, light, and soil. Biotic factors, of course, are obvious that they can affect organisms, like presence of other organisms which are prey, predators, or food, or overcrowding, or things like that. But abiotic factors like temperature, water, light, and soil also govern organism. And through organisms, it actually also affects population in a way. Okay. Then we went on to discuss population and population dynamics in detail. Now, population dynamics and attributes. So attributes are characteristics that only hold true for populations and not for organisms. So something which we can only study about population and not about organisms is called population attributes. For example, birth rate, death rate. And on the contrary, an organism has a birth and a death, but populations have birth rate and death rate, which is per capita birth or death. And through this rate, we can get to know the increase, how much population is increasing through births or deaths, increasing or decreasing. So growth can be positive or negative depending on this. Sex ratio, an organism just have a sex, particular sex. Some organisms like hermaphrodites, which can change their sex at will or can show both the sexes in the same body. Apart from them, mostly organisms have a fixed gender or sex. But sex ratio is that ratio of females, ratio of the two genders which are present in nature. So nature is binary about genders. Okay, binary about the sexes, male, either there is a male sex or a female sex, and the ratio of that in any population is called sex ratio. Okay. Then age distribution. Why is that important? Because if we know the age distribution of a population, we can understand and speculate a lot about the population itself. Because by knowing the age, we can categorize the population into post-reproductive, reproductive, and pre-reproductive stages. And looking at their values or their ratios or their abundance, we can predict that the population is going to be expanding population, in which the pre-reproductive population is higher than the reproductive and post-reproductive, or a expanding population, or a stable population where the pre-reproductive ratio is equal to the reproductive ratio, or declining where the pre-reproductive will be less. Okay, so these were certain things we discussed. This brought us to population size. We have to know population size to do studies, okay, any kind of study. But sometimes it is not possible to actually know the actual population size because we cannot count each and every individual in that population. So we rely on another factor called population density. For density, we do not have to know the absolute number. We can just take small samples, look at the how many individuals are there in that particular area, in that particular sample space, and then we can multiply, and get to know a estimate of the population density of that particular species. With population density, there is also something called relative population density, which is population density of A with respect to B. So for this, we just need to know how many times A is more or less than B in a given sample space. And then we can say that if the same trend follows everywhere, A is 5 times more than B, and this is how their dynamic works. Okay. And we can study a lot of things without knowing. So population density works the same as population size for these ecological studies, okay, which is the number of individuals per unit area. Now we come to population growth, and as I already told you that there can be positive or negative growth of a population. And if starting with the population density, there are certain factors that add to this density, which is natality, which is also known as birth, and immigration, which is organisms moving into a population from some other area. That's called immigration of the same species, of course. And some things make the population grow negatively or go into negative growth or decline in growth, which is mortality, which is death, and emigration, or organisms moving out of the population. On this basis, we made a very simple formula for ourselves, which is if I want to find through this, keeping all these factors in mind, if I want to find the population density at any time point after in future, like t+1, t+2 at any given time point, then it will be equal to NT, which is the population density at the time when I am taking it as a reference, the starting point, plus in brackets all the factors that add to the population minus all the factors that subtract from the population. And if this number is more than 1, then it adds to the previous initial number, and hence NT+1 will be higher. And if this is less than 1, then if it is in negative, then it subtracts from the initial population, and the next time point population, NT+1, will decrease. Okay. So building upon this very basic and simple thing, we studied two growth models, which are also the most important growth model study in these ecological studies. One is called exponential growth or geometric growth model. So exponential growth is where we assume that a population has no constraints, has no limitations of the resources in its environment, and it can just keep on expanding and growing, okay, without any restrictions. We also assume that death does not have a significant effect in lowering down or declining the population. So there we are looking for change. So dn by dt tells us about change in the population, which will be n, initial population, into r. So we reached to the final formula, which was dn upon dt is equal to rn. And this R is intrinsic rate of natural increase or intrinsic growth rate, also known as intrinsic growth rate. And for exponential population, the growth curve comes as a J-shaped curve, which tells that when we make n versus t graph, so n is density, t is time, it shoots up very fast. It is very steep a rise because it's exponential growth. Okay. Everything's clear till here, people? Anyone has any doubts?
Clear, sir.
Okay, great. So now just adding to it, coming to logistic growth model. Now we assumed certain things for exponential growth model, like there will be no limitation or no scarcity of resources. So resources will be unlimited, space will be unlimited, population can keep growing. But this never happens in natural conditions. Okay, even for populations where it does happen in the beginning, like a bacterial culture, a bacterial growth is exponential in the beginning, but it does not matter howsoever amount of resource you give. Earth is limited, right? Earth is not unlimited, it is limited. So even if you allow bacteria to keep growing unchecked, it will take over the whole earth. It will take a lot of time for it to do that, but it will take over and then start depleting. So that's why in nature there are always factors that limit the growth of a population and does not allow the population density to go beyond a point. Okay, now why does that happen? It's because it could be because of space constraint. So in a forest there is a limit how many deers can live. And how does that limit is decided? Because there will be a limit on how much is the area of that forest, and there will be a limit of how much vegetation is available for the deer to feed. Then there will be a limitation of how many tigers or predators are present who will keep hunting for these deer. Do you understand that? Then there'll be birth rate and death rate, and all these factors together will keep the deer population in check and balance. Okay, so in nature there is a concept of carrying capacity. You understand carrying capacity, people? As the word says, it is the maximum population density or population number for any given species that can be sustained or tolerated or carried in nature. So it's called carrying capacity for that population. So let's define some basic things first. Write down. Exponential growth model is exponential growth model does not hold true in nature for any population in long run. For any population in long run. Okay. Because in nature, no habitat or ecosystem. Because in nature, no habitat or ecosystem has unlimited resources. Has unlimited resources. Okay. And unlimited space to carry out exponential growth, or unlimited space to carry out unlimited growth. Okay, so write down there are various constraints or restraints okay. Now let's define a term called carrying capacity. Carrying capacity. Write down. Every ecosystem has enough resources. Every ecosystem has enough resources to support a maximum fixed density, for any population. A maximum fixed density for any population. Beyond which no growth is possible. Beyond which no growth is possible. So what happens? If any population reaches the carrying capacity, it will stay. It will not go beyond that. So organisms will keep on dying within it, and new births will happen. And the amount of new birth will also get limited. If population will not die, then new birth will not happen. That's how nature works. Because if new births keep happening, then automatically population has to die due to starvation or lack of resources. Okay. So this is known as carrying capacity, and we are going to use the symbol for carrying capacity as K. Okay. Let's say K. Now let's try to incorporate this thing into the model. So remember the model we started with? We have to figure out, let's say, change. So dn over dt is equal to r dot n. This is till here, it is exactly like what? What is this till here? Till here, hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, so till here it is just the exponential growth model only, right? No limitation on population, just changing what if we have to find the change, just initial density and a factor by which it will be multiplied, right? Now to
Yes.
make it a logistic growth model, to make it more natural, we have to introduce a term of carrying capacity. So we will start 1 minus n over k. This is the formula. dn by dt is equal to Rn into 1 minus n by k, where k is, carrying capacity, right? I've already told you. Now, how does this formula make sense? Also, let's understand that. So point is not to just tell you a formula, you have to mug it up. Let's see how we made this formula. So if you solve this, first let's solve the mathematical part of it. If you just solve this, what it will be? Simple maths. dn by dt is equal to Rn, and in the bracket it will be k minus n upon k, correct? Is it correct, people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, how does it make sense? So as I told you, k is the maximum. So that's why this k minus n is here over k. So if n, let's say n, which is the density, if it reaches its maximum, it will become k, right? Max value of n will be k only, correct?
Yes.
As an example, in a forest, there are 50 deers. So this becomes n that I'm starting right now. And these deers can maximum go up till, let's say, 5,000. Okay, so it will be k, right? For that deer population. Do you understand, everyone? Yes, no,
Yes.
something? Yeah.
Yes.
So if n starts increasing from 50, it became 100, still it is n, 200, 1,000, 4,000. When n becomes 5,000, basically what it is becoming? It is k only. So at its maximum, n will become k, and according to this formula, this part will be k minus k upon k. So what it will be? 0 over k, which whatever it is, and it will be 0, right? So this whole part will become 0 if n reaches its maximum. If any population reaches its maximum capacity in nature, then according to this formula, this will become 0. Yes.
Yes, sir.
And 0 multiplied by r and n is equal to
0.
So the change in population will be equal to
0.
Yes. So this is how this formula is satisfying the definition that no growth is possible beyond this capacity. So once n reaches k, the change will be 0. There will be no change beyond that. It's not possible mathematically. Okay. Do you understand the formula, everyone? Will you remember this? So in NCERT, only this part is given. So you just have to know this. And I just told you where it came from. Okay, this factor, this formula. And also another thing you can realize from this formula is that when K is very small, let's say, sorry, N is very small. Let's say the carrying capacity of any population is 1000. And there are only 10 organisms, 10 individuals. So it has a lot of scope to grow, right? From 10, it can go till 10,000. So if N is very small, K minus N will be large, right?
Yes, sir.
10,000 minus 10 will be 9,990. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So it will be this will be a large value, and this change Rn into a bigger value, the change will be high. So when population density is very less and its carrying capacity is very high, it has a lot of scope to grow, and it grows just like exponentially to some extent. This is exactly what happens in a bacterial population. When we keep few bacteria on a plate where they can grow till billions, but they are starting with, let's say, 10,000. So they just grow exponentially. And after one point, why the graph starts slowing down is because this N becomes bigger and bigger, and then K minus N becomes smaller and smaller, correct? Let's say N became 9,000. So it's only 10,000 minus 9,000. So just 1,000. Earlier it was 9,990. You understand what I'm saying, people? Is it making sense?
Yes, sir.
So as this N becomes high, the change will become smaller and smaller over time. Okay. So in exponential, in logistic growth model, if you make a graph, which is again N versus T graph, density versus population density versus time graph, you will see that the population first grows like a J, slightly steeper, but then will get this curve, get a flat, it will become flat. Okay. I've not made it very good, but let me, it will be slightly less steeper. S. Make sense?
S-shaped graph.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'm always good with making it reverse. No, it's even bad. It has to be a sigmoid graph, but let's say it will go, it will increase, but it will just, yes, this is perfect. No time reversal. So at one point, you will see that it is flattening out, and beyond that, it's not growing. What is this point in terms of density? Beyond which it cannot grow. So what is this density? This is K. This is the carrying capacity, right? Where it flattens. So this kind of graph is called a sigmoid graph or a S-shaped graph. Okay. Make sense for this formula?
Yes.
Everyone, please note this down and let me know when you're done. Look at it and tell me if anything is difficult or you want me to repeat. So don't just remember formulas. If you understand the formula, and like I think I hope that you do the same in physics and mathematics as well, right? If you understand the basis of the formula, you can derive it. Even if you don't remember any formula, you know the logic and the basis, you can derive it right there in the examinations. So you know that, okay, change is dn over dt, because anything over time is change. Then I have to find it. So equal to, let's start with the initial population, which is n. And if there is any change, whether positive or negative, it should be multiplied by a rate or a intrinsic growth rate. So that is R. And if there is a carrying capacity, then K minus N upon K as a factor will justify our natural phenomena, like how it behaves in nature. It can be justified by this formula. So all of a sudden, this formula will start making sense to you. And also this formula is known as Verhulst-Paul logistic growth equation. So it's Verhulst-Paul equation. I can never pronounce his name properly. Verhulst. Verhulst-Paul equation. So I think this was one of the questions there was in one of your papers, right? I think in one of the mocks, this was a question, right?
Yes, sir, there was a question on it.
Yeah, so this is Verhulst-Paul equation. Okay. It's known as Verhulst-Paul logistic growth equation, but for obvious reasons, when they will ask in exam, it will just ask which of these formula is called Verhulst-Paul equation, right? So you have to know this.
Yes.
And what they will do in options is sometimes they will not have this n. Sometime if this n is kept here, that also makes sense. Then it should not be here. There can't be 2n. The formula, if it says dn over dt is equal to r into k minus n upon k into n, it's the same thing, right? You know, multiplication can happen in any order. Correct? If it is just multiplication. Whether you do 2 into 3 into 2 or 2 into 2 into 3, it's the same thing, correct?
Yes, sir.
But there has to be
Yes.
one n out of the bracket, which is with r, and one n interacting with the carrying capacity inside the bracket. That's all you have to take care of. That's Verhulst equation. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I think this was the last logical part in this chapter. After this, there is one paragraph. Do you have NCRT? I made Arpit do this last time, but it will
Yes,
be
sir.
good. Yeah. So Fatima, can you please come back to the? Can you come to this part? I'm not sure which page number is this, but you will find logistic growth equation, and below that there will be a segment called life history variation in organisms, something like that. It's a paragraph. Would you like to read that? Life history variation.
I'm just looking for it.
Yeah, it must be towards the tail end. I think it is the second last thing. Life history variation or something like that in organisms, no, or in population, something like that. Did you find it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Life history variation.
Yeah.
Populations evolve to maximize their reproductive fitness, also called Darwinian fitness, high
Yes.
R value, in the habitat in which they live. Under
Yes, just stop. So sorry, I'll be interrupting you multiple times. Please just pardon me for that. So life history variation. So what Fatima just read is a concept which was given as a theory by Darwin. But over time, when we started studying biology in the light of mathematics, when we started modeling biology, when we started modeling ecological growth models, we realized, yeah, he was correct. And we started seeing evidences for it. And the thing is that in nature, every population. So Darwin said that there is only one fitness that matter above all fitnesses. That is survival of the fittest, and that fitness is reproductive fitness, correct?
Yes, sir.
If an organism is reproductively fitter, so if there are two species, one look very beautiful. So one female is very, very beautiful, very colorful, but the other female is dull. And somehow she can give she can lay twice the number of eggs than the first one. So whose progenies or whose characters will survive in nature? The second ones, right?
Yes, sir.
The one who will leave more progenies will also leave their genetics or genes in the next generation. So if you see mathematically, every population just tries and fights and struggles to increase the R value of their growth, correct? The greater the R value is, the higher will be the change in population in the next generation. So every population, because no population, it's not easy to attain the carrying capacity. There are many factors that will kill organisms, suddenly. Climate change, predators, diseases, some kind of an infection. So that's why variation is very important. So they have to increase their R value. Do you agree that every organism, every population is trying to just increase the R value?
Yes, sir.
So that they can leave more and more progenies. Yes, continue reading.
Under a particular set of selection pressures, organisms evolve towards the most efficient reproductive strategy. Some
Yes.
organisms breed only once in their lifetime. Pacific salmon fish and bamboo are examples.
Okay, stop right here. Just stop right here. Sorry, Fatima. I'm so sorry. I know it's a little pain, but we have to go through it. Yeah, thank you. So Fatima just read that it's clear that all organisms try to develop mechanisms to increase their reproductive fitness. Some organisms just reproduce once in their lifetime. Now you will see it as a disadvantage, right? What's the point of just reproducing once in life? Once. It's not like once in year and then next year you can reproduce. Once in life, for example, salmon fish and bamboo plants, they only flower, so they only do sexual reproduction once in their life and then they die. There are some species of octopus also that do so, but there the reason is slightly different, but still the females only get to reproduce once and sometimes they die after that. Now, how do you think it can be an advantage? And if
in that one time itself, they reproduce, they have many offsprings.
Yes. So they are just risking everything, every inch of their body surface and every ounce of their energy to just maximize the progeny number in that one reproduction. So if they are reproducing just once, they better be laying thousands and thousands of eggs, right? In case of salmon fish, if not thousands, at least hundreds of eggs. And this is what happens. So salmon fish has lots of predators in the marine ecosystem, and their eggs cannot tolerate marine ecosystem very well. They die a lot. So what they do is, when they have to breed after sexual reproduction to lay eggs, during sexual reproduction to lay eggs, they kind of go upstream into the freshwater habitat. So from oceans, they migrate back into the rivers, which is a very, very difficult journey for a marine fish. And they can just survive one trip, one side trip. They go there, lay lots and lots of eggs. Those eggs are also away from their marine predators. They also are in an environment where they will get the optimum hatching conditions. So just to maximize their progeny's survival, they sacrifice their own. Okay. And bamboo plant also blooms just like once in its life. So very few people must have seen a bamboo plant flowering, because often no one keeps bamboo for that long. Often we cut and use it. So bamboo have asexual methods or vegetative methods also to reproduce. They can reproduce from their own roots back. So this is how bamboo is flourished, but it also does sexual reproduction once. But when it does that, it makes sure that it's flowering so much that it creates enough genetic variation, which is required for bamboo to keep going. Okay. So if organisms are reproducing less or less number of progenies, then they have two choices. One is if they are reproducing less number of times, then they produce more offsprings. And if they're producing more offsprings, all the offsprings cannot be big in size. So then comes the size factor. So you will see higher mammals like humans, elephants, tigers, lions, deers, dogs, and cats. They give rise to very limited number of babies, right, in one reproduction. But their baby's size is bigger. On the other hand, if you go to lower organisms, which uh, give rise to small sized progenies, then the number of progenies is higher. So either you settle for a large size and a large size and small number, or organism can settle for a large number and a small size. Make sense, people?
Yes, sir.
Because energy
Yes.
is conserved, energy is limited. No, you cannot have unlimited energy to produce unlimited large sized organisms. So that's the reason. So that's life history variation that goes down. Okay, yes, Fatima. So continue reading and finish the paragraph.
Some organisms breed only once in their lifetime. Example, Pacific salmon fish and bamboo, while others breed many times during their lifetime. Example, most birds and mammals. Some produce a large number of small-sized offspring. Example, oysters and pelagic fishes, while others produce a small number of large-sized offsprings. Example, birds and mammals. So, which is desirable for maximizing fitness? Ecologists suggest that life history traits of organisms have evolved in relation to the constraints imposed by the abiotic and biotic components of the habitat in which they live. Evolution of life history traits in different species is currently an important area of research being conducted by ecologists.
Exactly.
Ecologists.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fatima. Just still here. Yes. So this is what we just discussed. And that's why one thing that you must have noticed, it says that which is more desirable. So actually there is no clear answer which is more desirable, because organisms often have, like, some organisms will follow one route, the other will follow the other route, which means both are equally successful. Okay, but more than it's not organism's choice. More than the organism, it is shaped by this life history variation is shaped by the factors, the biotic and abiotic factors in which these organisms live. That's why in the beginning we did not completely left the abiotic factors that affect organisms. Now, what could be the abiotic factors? Temperature. In very hot environments where food is less, organisms cannot produce large number of large size babies. Okay, so they have to go for small sized babies if they want large numbers, or they want to go for large size babies if they want small numbers. In nature also, the way predation has been developed, so you might think that for a predator like a lion or a tiger or a cheetah, life is very good in a jungle, right? Whenever a cheetah wants to eat, it will just go and kill a deer and eat it. It's not that simple. You know what is the hunt success ratio of a cheetah? How many times? Yeah, it's 1/4, 25% only. So every 4 times a cheetah attempts to kill a deer, it just gets successful once. But why is that? Cheetah is the fastest running land mammal. So why can't cheetah kill every time it wishes a deer?
Because other animals also have advantages. For example, a chameleon can camouflage.
But cheetah is not eating a chameleon, no? We're talking about cheetah and deer. What advantage? You are correct. Your answer is correct, but you're
Even
giving a wrong
deers can
example.
camouflage.
I don't think deers do camouflage. In fact, cheetahs do camouflage in a
No, but even in
grassy,
like desert areas, I mean, you won't find deers over there much. No, but see, like
yeah,
in
we'll develop the answer.
trees,
Good. Keep
which
the
are
points coming.
dry trees,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Yeah.
deer can hide in there.
Yes, correct. Deer can hide in trees, but also like you will find that deers mostly live in grasslands, Because one thing, they have a problem. They do not live in very bushy regions because the males have antlers. They might get stuck in the bush and that will be to their own disadvantage. So they live in a bushy region. Living is even difficult because you might not know what is across the bush. Maybe there is a predator hiding in the bush. So they would like to graze in a grassland more. And this is how they evolved. But in a grassland, then the problem is camouflage, as you said. So if they come open in the grassland, it's not like tiger cannot see or cheetah cannot see a deer. That's why it cannot hunt a deer. I am saying the reason, listen to the question carefully. Every 4 times where a cheetah spots a deer, figures out where the deer is, gets very close to it and starts running, only once it will succeed. Now, why is that? That cannot have anything to do with camouflage. It is because, no doubt that cheetah is the fastest, but cheetah cannot maintain that fast speed beyond a few seconds, maximum 10 to 15 seconds. So for a deer, all the deer has to do is not to be fast, but to be smart. A deer has to just dodge a cheetah for 15 seconds. And then the cheetah is so exhausted, then it cannot continue to run. Because the faster you run, your body is burning the fuel, even like with the same speed. And the faster you run, your heartbeat and your blood flow to the brain increases. And if you continue on that fast speed, your heart might fail or your brain might have a hemorrhage. So cheetah has to stop after 10 to 12 to 15 seconds, even if it is just 1 inch away from the deer. But if the deer can just manage to make that last turn, so if you'll ever see a wildlife documentary or any Discovery Channel or Nat Geo, you will see that cheetah never runs in a straight line, right? It always, whenever you see the tiger is just reaching to it, it will take a very sharp turn. Do you understand? And it is easier for a deer to make a sharp turn because deer is slower than cheetah. It is difficult to make a sharp turn at high speed. That's why cars drift at high speed but cannot make a turn. It's all physics. It's physics, biology, and the chemistry happening inside the cells that is governing ecosystem. And I will suggest you one thing, because those who have the access to Netflix, it's not just to I'm not endorsing, but there is one very amazing documentary that has come up. It's called Our Universe, where it's very unique one, where life on the planet has been connected with the formation of stars, black holes, our own sun, and the solar system. So in one line, the documentary talks about how sun was formed. In the other line, it will talk exactly about the thing that I am telling you about the cheetah and deer. Okay, so I watched it. I think it's a new one. It's a fairly new one thing. So you should look at Our Universe. It is not about physics or universe. It is about life connected to how the birth of a star is connected to hunting that a cheetah does. You might have never thought from that perspective. Yes, that's so cool, Fatima, right? It is so cool. So
Yes,
over
sir.
time, deers have evolved to know that, see, we don't have to be the fastest. If we can manage to protect ourselves for 15 seconds, the cheetah will just be so exhausted that we can just dance in front of the cheetah and it will not be able to lift a muscle. And it has been seen, once cheetah gets exhausted, it just lays on the ground and it's just breathing heavily to restore its energy back. And you will see that deers are just moving at some distance. They don't care. They know
So
that
that time, can the deers attack the cheetah?
no, because they are vegetarian. Good for the
Yeah,
cheetah.
but still,
Sorry,
but
just
still.
for fun and revenge.
Yeah.
No, preys do not have this. I think preys only attack when they want to protect themselves. They never attack to hunt or to cause harm to a predator. So you will see sometimes wildebeests. So if a single predator sometimes catches a calf of a wildebeest or a calf of a wild cattle, which is like gore or something, sometimes they come running, or a wild buffalo, they come running, the mothers and the fathers come running and just challenge the predator in herds that leave our calf. That's their parenting instincts. So they attack sometimes back, but not not like because they want to revenge or something, but to just protect the herd. Okay. So technically what I'm saying is, theoretically, a prey is always afraid of a predator. It's an innate fear. But what you are saying is also true, that during that time when a cheetah is rejuvenated, like getting its breath back, you can literally do and like walk in front of him or her, and the cheetah won't be able to do anything.
But so what if then at that time some other like higher organism tries to come and kill that cheetah?
That's the point
Then
of being,
yeah.
that's the point of being an apex predator. Apex predators are called apex because there is nothing above them in the ecosystem. So in ecosystem, there's nothing above cheetah, tigers, and lions. Tigers don't hunt cheetahs, cheetahs don't hunt lions, lions don't hunt tigers, and so on. So they all are apex predators. They only hunt the herbivores. They don't hunt behaviorally. So during that time, nothing can come and harm the cheetah. That's otherwise, cheetah. Why will cheetah hunt? Cheetah is like, if I fail, then I am at danger. So there cannot be danger on both sides. No, that evolution will not work. You are taking a risk by going to hunting altogether. So cheetah can decide not to hunt for that day and just live. If 5 times a cheetah fails in a row, it might get so exhausted that it might die of starvation. But luckily, somehow, it makes a balance. And you will always see what these apex predators do. When they fail 2 times in a row, this has been observed as a behavior. When they fail 2 times in a row to hunt a big herbivore, they go for smaller herbivores like rabbits. They no longer go for deer because they want to get some energy back. Then they will again try for a deer. So that's how ecosystem balance is, right? Otherwise, you just fail. It's like Mario game, right? You have 4 lives, 5 lives. Use it judicially.
Yeah.
So it's cool, right? These studies are, so these are called life history variations that come up and are set with all the factors: predation, abiotic, temperature, water availability, etc., etc. Okay. Yeah, cool. So I think I have to just close this notebook because it's not responding. Just give me 1 second, people. Yeah, I will restart it. Okay. In the meantime, so the last part of this chapter deals with population interactions. And this is a very important theoretical part from where questions in entrance comes. So what do you understand by population interaction? Is there a table given there in that NCERT, everyone? Fatima, can you tell me the page number?
For what?
For population interactions, the last topic, there must be a topic population
It's page number 232.
232. So Matthew and Abia, come to page number 232 of your book.
Yes, sir. Is it the mutualism competition table?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
It is that one. Let me see if I can share that part. Okay, just take a look at that chapter and see if you understand. So what the table wants to tell you. And give me just a quick 1 minute break. I'll be back. Okay, I'll get some water for myself. Is it okay?
No problem, sir.
Yeah, I'll be back in a minute. Just look at the table and we'll discuss that to finish this chapter. Okay. Am I audible, people?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, it's too cold out. It's too cold out there. Even in my own apartment. My room is the warmest place. Okay. How is it at your places, people? The temperature?
It's also pretty cold.
23 degrees here.
23 is
So where are you staying?
good. Where I'm currently in Delhi NCR. Delhi is under cold wave. It's very cold, actually. The capital.
Yeah, it gets
NCR.
cold over there.
Yeah, it's very extreme, the temperatures, but that's, because now you people know ecosystem now and all this thing. You know that Kuwait had hailstones. Kuwait got hailstones.
So when?
Wow.
It is one of the hottest place. Just like recently, like I think 2 days ago, there was rain and there is a layer of ice on Kuwait.
So over here, like it rained a lot. Like for the most part, it did rain for a while.
Yeah, and also like the rain is very
I
cold.
was in Kuwait a few days ago.
Yeah, but it was Kuwait only, right? It is one of the hottest place, right? It is known as one of the hottest place, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it is one of the hottest places, and the weather was
Kuwait,
cool, but I didn't see any hailstones.
just one thing. Yes, it was 2 days ago. So Kuwait hit by hailstorm due to rare weather event. They are calling it a rare weather event. Let me tell you, there's nothing like a rare weather event. It's not like the hottest place all of a sudden got ice on the roads and on the sand and on these stones. It is
I
climate
mean, so
change.
over here in Ras Al Khaimah, there's like a huge mountain, and it like snows there, it rains there like most of the time.
Yeah, so
So
you will see these,
yeah.
you will see these extremities. So remember I told you that Kuwait is in the tropics, right? It's a tropical place, correct? It's not like a European
Yes.
country where you will see that, okay, if there are summers, then they might be hot or medium hot, and if there are winters, it's snow. Kuwait should be more towards the warmer side, but if it is getting rare events like this where it is ice is coming from the sky, it means that it is seeing the extremes of the temperatures. Even a place called Churu in Rajasthan in India. Rajasthan is also one of the hottest states of India because of Thar Desert. But this is deserts have these signatures that deserts get heated very fast. They also get cooled down very fast because sand cannot retain a lot of heat. It loses heat very fast during the night and it also gains heat very fast during the day. But Kuwait, for it's different. And many places on earth nowadays are getting unpredictable for their weathers. That's because we are fueling this climate change. And it is real, it is right in front of our eyes. But still, if anyone wants to keep a close eye and say that, okay, this is just natural, it happens, then what can you do, right? But you can see the signs. It is changing. See, global warming is not the problem. Often we think that global warming is something which human are causing. Global warming and global freezing is a phenomena that happens in cycle. Earth has frozen and has melted multiple times in the past, most of it, except for the regions at the equator and Africa, of course. Earth freezes. That's called ice age. So there have been around 4 to 5 ice ages that we are aware of. And how are we aware of it? It's not just stories. We can go for archaeological or geographical evidences. When you look layers of earth, if tons and tons of ice has moved over a piece of land as glaciers, you will find that the land will have a very different kind of topology. Rocks will be tapered down, they will be crushed by this ice and glaciers. So the soil ecosystem becomes very different. You will not see vegetation, you will not see fossil records of very small sized mammals, etc., etc., because you will never find small sized mammals in Greenland or in the northern polar region. You know why very small mammals cannot live in very cold environment? That is one of your board question, by the way. Why you do not find in ecosystem? It is the next chapter, but let's discuss it here because everything is connected. Why do you think small birds, reptiles, amphibians, or small mammals are not found in very cold environments, but you find big walrus, penguins, polar bear, all these things?
Such big animals are adapted better to extreme environments.
Then why do we find very small reptiles and mouse, like a desert mouse, in very the opposite end, like in deserts? So desert is also, so two extreme environments. You are right. So I'm not saying that your answer is completely wrong. It is just partially correct. So if you talk about extreme environments, on one hand, if extreme cold is one extreme environment, then extreme heat is also another extreme environment, right? Like a desert, Sahara Desert. But you will still find very small sized reptiles, mammals living in deserts.
Because
yeah,
they weren't able to reproduce.
Why?
And they eventually died.
But that's what I'm saying. Why? Which means you're saying that they were there at one point of time, they all died.
Maybe.
Yeah, but how will we say that they were there? Let's say we don't have fossil records. But just by logic, can you think of some physics that's happening in our body? So in deserts, we see camels. We also see a very small, 2-3 inch long desert rat. But in let's say Greenland, you will not see that. You will see big organisms only. Because very small organisms, with respect to their body size and body surface, the body surface to body size, body volume ratio is more for smaller organisms. They lose a lot of heat from their small body if they live in cold environments. That's the reason whenever the environment is cold, all these smaller organisms go into hibernation, because one, they are cold-blooded. So the reason why you will never find a reptile in Greenland is that they are cold-blooded. Second thing, you will only find mammals, whether they are mammals or birds. Penguins are birds, walrus, seal, and all these polar bear, they're all mammals. You will not find amphibians and reptiles because they're all cold-blooded. But even in mammals, you will find big ones because big bodies can contain and retain more heat than small bodies. Make sense? It's the same concept.
Yes, sir.
If you have one bucket full of boiling water versus one bowl full of hot water, which one will you think will become cold faster?
The bowl.
Yeah, because it's less in volume and it's an open bowl. So the heat is dissipated and it will dissipate. See, sometimes if you talk about the rate at which heat dissipates, it's more in the bigger one because it has more heat to dissipate. But that's the whole reason. It has more heat. It can contain more heat to dissipate. So heat dissipation is higher in a bigger organism, but it also have more heat that it has conserved. Okay, so I'm not saying that bigger mammals dissipate less heat than a smaller mammal. Of course, that's not the point. But smaller mammal has less heat to begin with. So if it dissipates all, it won't survive and it won't be able to find food easily. Bigger mammals can hunt and find food easily. So that's the reason. Okay. Okay, so coming back to interactions, let me quickly open this part. Yeah, yes. Population interaction. I hope it is. Yes. You all can see the screen, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. It got stuck in between last time, so I restarted it. Okay, so by population interaction, I mean, no, this is not what I need. Sorry, people, just struggling with some technology. Yeah. So how populations interact among themselves. There are many types of interactions among different populations, prey, predator, mutualistic, but all interactions in nature can be categorized into basically the 6 different parts that they have shown here in your book. whenever two populations interact, why are they interacting is the first question. So why are they interacting? Because they get something out of it, right? At least one population gets something out of it. There can never be an interaction where both the populations do not get anything from out of it. Okay, there will always, that will not be called. Yeah, tell me.
There are some of them in which both of them don't get anything.
For example?
Competition.
No. Both of them are at loss. By getting anything, I mean both of them are not getting what do you say? Not so it's my bad.
As in, like, no, both of them are not benefiting. So like both of them are getting harmed.
No, exactly. In competition, both of them get harmed. That is what Fatima is saying. She's
There
correct.
is no like 0-0 table.
Yes,
that's
right.
what
So that is what I am trying to say, but I should put my vocabulary proper. Thank you, Fatima. So I'm saying that there can never be an interaction in nature where both the populations are not concerned.
Yeah. And
because then it will not be an interaction. So if you and me are standing and we are talking to each other, there will always be some reason for it, right? To know something, to ask something. Maybe I am not at a profit or loss. Let's say we both are classmates and we are talking on a project. So both of us are the benefit because we are doing the project together. That's called mutualism. Okay. Either you are a stranger, I am a stranger, you are asking me some directions, I'm telling you, I am not at benefit, but you are at benefit. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Or let's say I am a thief. I picked your pocket and I ran away. Okay. So you are at loss, but I am at benefit. You understand?
Yeah.
So always there will be some effect, consequence on one or the other population. So there will always be two things. So I'm calling it a species A. You can call it population A also, does not matter. And species B. So if in an interaction species B is benefited, so plus means benefit, minus means loss, and 0 means no benefit, no loss. Okay, not concerned. So if both are at benefit, it is called mutualism, mutualistic relationship. And most of our biology textbooks are filled up with this. Okay, mutualism, mutualistic relationship. So can you give some examples that you can write in boards? Matthew, Fatima, and Abia? Any mutualistic relationship that you are aware of? And I'm sure you are aware of many. It's like win-win situation for both the species.
Mycorrhizae.
Lichen, you mean, right?
Yeah.
And you are talking about where the root nodule formation between the fungus and the root of the plants, right, Matthew?
Yes.
Or bacterial.
Yes, sir. Mycorrhizal association between fungi and
root nodules. Yes. So here both are at benefit. So in a lichen, there is a fungal partner and a algal partner. The fungal partner cannot photosynthesize, so it can provide raw materials to the algal partner, and also sometimes can provide shelter to the algal partner as well, because fungal partner is bigger. And it's called mycobiont. The algal partner, which is called phycobiont, can do photosynthesis, take the raw material, prepare a food, starch or glucose, keep some for itself, whatever is required, and give the rest to the fungal partner. Okay, so it's like you give me a place to live and your kitchen, I will cook and prepare food for you, so you get prepared food. Works, right? Good. Win-win situation. Same kind of thing happens for a mycorrhiza, mycorrhizal association of the fungus and the root nodules. Sometimes if both are getting benefited, it's mutualism. Some other examples which are not in your textbook you must have seen is you will see have you seen sometimes crocodiles basking in the sun with their snouts open?
Yeah, you have told this one.
Yeah, have I told you? Then some small birds will come and go inside the mouth. You may think that these birds have lost their mind or they're mad. They're just going to their own deaths. They move around in the mouth and they start picking up things which are stick from the last meal of the crocodile around its teeth. So they peck the teeth, what are the remains of some leftover food in the teeth, and they eat it. But the crocodile never snaps the mouth, never eats or kills these birds. You know why?
Because it helps it like clean up, you could say.
Yeah, exactly. They are brushing their teeth, brushing the crocodile's teeth. So the crocodile, crocodile does not have hands or to brush its own teeth, but anything that stays stuck can cause bacterial growth over time, right? And the crocodile's mouth can get infected, the teeth can get infected. So it knows that, okay, let these birds peck on my teeth, leftovers. The bird gets the food and the crocodile gets a clean over of the teeth. It's good for oral hygiene. So it seems like even a crocodile knows the importance of oral hygiene. Okay, it's not going for a very easy snack. Okay, it's an evening, how about few fluffy birds? No, I can hunt again, let these birds clean my mouth and go. So that's again a mutualistic relationship. How many of you have seen Finding Nemo, a clownfish living among the tentacles of a sea anemone? So sea anemones are cnidarians. They have stinging tentacles. They sting anything that comes near it, but they never sting the clownfish. Why? In fact, they sting those who try to predate on clownfish. So whenever a clownfish finds danger, it goes and hides.
That's commensalism, right, sir? Because right? I don't think, because commensalism, because the clownfish doesn't really benefit the sea anemone.
Then why doesn't the sea anemone stinging the clownfish? That's the question. So if I know that, some books try to put it as a commensalism, but that's wrong. That's outdated knowledge. Actually, the relationship between a clownfish and a sea anemone is mutualistic, and it has been shown, it has been proved. So it's a very old knowledge.
So what benefit does the clownfish
gets protected from the predators?
No, yes, yes, sir. I know that, but then how is it a benefit to the sea anemone?
Sea anemone, yes, coming to that. So let's first lay the ground. So what happens is, if a clownfish is afraid, it will go and hide inside the tentacles of the sea anemone. Now, sea anemone will not sting the clownfish, but will sting anything else that comes looking for the clownfish. So actively, the sea anemone is not stinging. It has a preference to sting, and it has a preference not to sting. So that clearly is an active choice the sea anemone is making. And any organism will not make an active choice just because it has no benefit and it is a good-hearted organism. For that matter, sea anemone does not have a heart. Okay. But it has been shown that the clownfish, so sea anemone have just a blind digestive system, right? And the mouth region from where the food enters, sea anemone, so clownfish helps the sea anemone to attract things and clean the sea anemone within the tentacles also. While it is hiding, sleeping, and moving within the tentacles, it's cleaning the sea anemone so it does not get clumped by just the garbage which it cannot digest. Second, it is attracting more food for the sea anemone. So it is a mutualistic relationship. That's why sea anemone will not sting a clownfish, but if you go and try to touch it, it will sting you. You understand, Matthew?
Not clearly, but yeah, I kind of.
Okay, so basically it has tentacles like this, right?
Yes.
So a sea anemone has a blind digestive system, just a sac from which it eats the food and then throws things out again from the same sac. Now, a clownfish never harms the sea anemone, but just moves in between these tentacles, cleaning every garbage or anything which is lying around and might clog this gastric cavity.
Makes more sense.
Because sea anemone cannot do it itself, right? And also when a clownfish is coming, some smaller fish or something which can come up with clownfish, these tentacles will sting and paralyze and eat it. Make sense now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this has been shown by ecological studies now that it's a mutualistic relationship. Okay, so that's where both the species are benefited. Similarly, you have to read from NCERT. This is just theoretical. If one is benefited, other is not benefited, it can be two things. Either it can be predation, a predation interaction, predatory interaction, or the same thing can be said for parasitism. But there is a difference between the two. In predation, the organism which is at benefit is a predator. It mostly is bigger in size, not mostly, almost all the time. Predator is bigger, more powerful, and can kill the prey, and would like to kill the prey. But in parasitism, the organism that is at benefit has to be smaller, and parasites can be of two types: ectoparasites, which live out on the body, or endoparasites, which live inside the host body. But a parasite will never like to kill the host. It may unintentionally by causing infection, but an ideal parasite would like to live in the host without letting the host know, or the host immune system know. So it has to be hideous so that it gets benefited. But because if the host dies, the parasite dies, right? Or the parasite has to find another host. Do you understand the difference?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the species that benefit in parasitism is smaller, either lives on or inside the host body, and does not kill the host body, but takes nutrition from it. Examples are tapeworm, liver fluke living in our intestine. And viruses, yes, to some extent, they are very parasitic. Cellular parasites, yes, correct. So ideal virus would not like to kill you. Ideal virus would just like to replicate. Okay, for that matter, any parasitic bacteria also. But they end up killing by causing infection and other side effects. But in predation, the predator would like and love to kill the prey and eat it. Then there is where both are at loss. This is called competition. In a competition model, it has been seen that no species actually benefits completely. They have to always share the resource. And sharing means getting a fraction of the pie, always. No one gets the full cake. Everyone gets some fraction of it. For some, it can be bigger, for some, it can be smaller, but both of them ended up losing one or the other, minor or the major share. So in competition, it has been seen both are negatively affected. The best example is given by the studies done by these migratory birds that visit the tropical lakes from Europe, and the relationship between these birds and the fish living in the water body. So these birds also, after visiting, get into competition with these fishes to feed on crustaceans, prawns, small crustaceans living in the water. So now both of them are competing for the same food, and none of them can get that food exclusive for themselves. So always have to share and compromise. Do you understand, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so though sometimes in competition it might look like one is winning, one is losing, it's not competition. Either it is predation or parasitism, where one wins clearly. In competition, both loses. Okay, then there is one effect benefited, another no effect, which is called commensalism. Any example for this? A good example is whale, barnacles on whale's body. Have you seen a whale's body? So if you
Yes,
have
sir.
seen, a whale's body is like this with these lines in the right, correct?
Yes, sir.
Very big. And you will see some things attached to the whale's body. They look like this. They are arthropods, sea arthropods that attach to the belly of the whale. The whale does not care. They are not ectoparasites. They are just attached. They are not taking anything from the whale's body. They are just using the whale's body as a hitchhiking thing to just move. The whale does not care. It has no benefit, no loss with these barnacles. But these barnacles are at benefit because they get to go to different nutritious regions which they could not move by themselves. They get to find mates and all these things and a substrate to cling to. So barnacles on a whale. Yes, Fatima.
Also, when creepers, go on trees.
Yes. So if they are not parasitic creepers, for example, Amar bale is one which is a parasitic Cuscuta. It's called Cuscuta in scientific language. It's called Amar bale. It's called Amar because it does not die. It is a parasitic creeper. Okay, Cuscuta. Except for Cuscuta, any other creeper which is just going around on a tree, which just needs the tree for a support, could be a common salism. Okay, but Cuscuta is a parasitic creeper, so be aware of it. Okay, another is where one it has loss, other is not affected. So this species is not knowing that it is causing a loss to this species. So it's not intentional most of the times. It is unintentional, but one species is at loss due to the presence of other species. Okay, and this you will see in the case of the relationship between grazing cattles and these egrets. So there are these birds with long snout, white birds. They are called cattle. They look something like this. They have a mouth and a beak. These kind of birds. They're white birds that always roam around cattle. So they are called cattle egrets only. The bird is egret. So this has a relationship in interaction with the cattle. So what does cattle do? Cattle grazes the grass and it bites off the grass, and cattle is eating.
That like in turn like picks up like what you say insects and worms which the egret feeds on.
Yes, so some insects and worms which were living in the roots or hiding in that grass will just be now running for their lives, and when they will come out of the soil, these egrets will eat. So egret, so the relationship between the cattle and the insect here is amensalism. Okay, because the cattle has no effect with the insect, but insect is getting negatively affected by the presence of cattle because this is getting eaten. Whereas the egret and the cattle's relationship is of commensalism. Cattle again does not care, but egret is getting benefited. And the relationship between egret and insect is predatory. One is getting benefit, one is at loss. Do you understand, everyone? So same
Yes, sir.
scenario, there are 3 interactions happening. Okay, so these are the things you have to read from NCERT, and with this chapter is over, and the next class will begin with a new chapter, which will be next week. So tomorrow is a New Year holiday, so enjoy your New Year, and I wish you all the good luck, health, wisdom, and prosperity, everyone. Take care, and
Thank
bye-bye.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye, Abia. Take care. Okay. Hello, Alan, Mamuna, and Safula. Sorry for taking up a few minutes. How are you all?
Fine.
Fine? Okay, great. So can I take a